The sky turns purple at noon worldwide as the Galactic Vrax Empire warps into Earth's solar system, their legendary armada of obsidian-hulled ships blotting out the sun over major cities. Humanity watches in terrified awe as these world killers, vessels, that have conquered 317 star systems without a single defeat, position themselves in perfect formation. From the flagship descends a crystalline sphere that hovers above the UN headquarters, projecting the imposing figure of Admiral Zek-Tool. 7 feet tall with iridescent scales and cold, calculating eyes, the Empire's most decorated commander delivers his ultimatum with casual disdain. Surrender Earth within 30 days or face extinction. Your species has been monitored for some time, Admiral Zek-Tool announces, his voice simultaneously translating into all Earth languages. You have reached the technological threshold that qualifies you for assimilation into the Empire. Resistance is... He pauses, mandibles clicking in what might be amusement. Historically unsuccessful. In orbit, smaller scout vessels deploy around the planet, establishing a perimeter that disrupts satellite communications and military networks. Panic erupts in cities worldwide as information becomes fragmented. Stock markets crash within hours. Religious leaders proclaim the end times. Military forces worldwide mobilize, despite having no effective strategy. Inside China's ultra-secret Dongfeng command bunker, General Li Wei authorizes deployment of their experimental orbital railgun, a weapon kept hidden from even their closest allies. If we're going to die, he tells his officers grimly, we die fighting. The massive weapon powers up from its hidden lunar installation, targeting a mid-sized Vraxian cruiser. When fired, the tungsten projectile reaches 30 times the speed of sound, faster than any human weapon in history. Global military leaders watch the live feed with desperate hope as the round strikes the alien vessel. It dissolves against the ship's energy shields in a flash of emerald light, leaving not even a scorch mark. The Admiral's laughter echoes across global communications as military personnel worldwide watch their radar screens fill with impossible readings. Hypersonic missiles launched from Russian submarines, American stealth bombers, and European defense platforms meet the same fate, all vaporizing harmlessly against violet barriers. We might as well be throwing rocks, whispers the U.S. President in the Pentagon's underground war room, as generals stare silently at the footage. The Joint Chiefs present their assessment. Earth's combined military might cannot penetrate even a single Vraxian defensive shield. In London, MI6 analysts discover scattered references to the Vrax Empire in ancient Sumerian tablets, suggestions that Earth may have been visited before. In Tokyo, quantum physicists detect unusual patterns in the shield's energy signatures that defy known physics. Meanwhile, in New Delhi, a young programmer notices brief fluctuations in power grids coinciding with Vraxian ship movements. These isolated observations remain disconnected as global leadership fractures between those advocating immediate surrender and those demanding continued resistance. Communication networks struggle under unprecedented load as humanity grapples with its new reality, no longer alone in the universe, and facing imminent subjugation. As day 1 of the 30-day countdown ends, Admiral Zek-Tool reviews human response patterns from his command throne. Typical early-stage reaction, he remarks to his second-in-command. They'll progress through denial, rage, bargaining, and finally acceptance, just like the others. And if they don't? Asks his lieutenant. The Admiral's vertical pupils narrow as he studies Earth's nightside rotation. Then this becomes another footnote in our expansion logs. Either way, the outcome is certain. In orbit above Earth, the Invincible fleet settled in to wait, their shields impenetrable, their weapons ready, while below, humanity faced a stark choice between submission and extinction, with no apparent third option in sight. Dr. Elena Reyes hasn't slept in 3 days. Her lab in the Arctic Circle research facility littered with empty coffee cups and discarded simulations. Outside, Aurora Borealis dances across the sky, occasionally disrupted by the ominous silhouettes of Vraxian, Scout ships. The military has largely forgotten about this remote outpost. Budget cuts had nearly shuttered it last year, which suits Elena perfectly. Her obsession isn't with the alien fleet, but with the pulsing blue shard suspended in her containment field, an artifact recovered from the Tunguska event site that has defied classification for decades. Officially designated Object T-1908, it had been gathering dust in storage until Elena requisitioned it for her fringe research into unconventional energy patterns. Day 26 of the countdown, she records, voice hoarse from exhaustion. Artifact energy output has increased by 327% since the Vraxian arrival. Pattern analysis suggests resonance with their propulsion signatures, but there's something else. She adjusts another frequency parameter, her hand trembling from exhaustion and fear. The holographic display shows waveforms that shouldn't be possible according to standard physics. As she calibrates the 19th harmonic sequence, the shard pulses in perfect rhythm with her adjustments. Almost like it's trying to communicate, she whispers. Suddenly, the shard flares blindingly and emits a pulse that crashes every system in the lab, except for a century-old vacuum tube radio salvaged from a military surplus store. The antique device crackles to life, emitting a mathematical sequence no human programmed. Across the facility, alarms blare. Elena rushes to the observation window, coffee cup dropping from her hand. A Vraxian scout ship passing overhead tumbles from the sky, its engines sputtering and shields flickering before it crashes into a snowbank 2 kilometers away. Colonel Wei Zhang bursts into the lab with 2 MPs, sent to shut down, non-essential, research and repurpose the facility for evacuation logistics. He stares at the downed alien craft visible through the observation window, then at the glowing artifact, then back at the crashed ship. "What did you just do?" he demands. Elena looks from the artifact to the downed craft, her mind racing with implications. "I found their kryptonite," she whispers, "but I'll need help." The colonel's skepticism is palpable. "You expect me to believe that thing brought down an alien spacecraft?" "Not intentionally," Elena clarifies, typing commands into her backup system. "But look at these emissions. They created a localized field that disrupted their shield harmonics and engine phase coupling." She pulls up personnel files on her emergency terminal, individuals flagged in her personal database for qualities the military considers liabilities but she sees as assets. "Major Aisha Kazmi," she begins, displaying the record of a fighter pilot grounded for insubordination after questioning orders during a classified operation. Top of her class in tactical improvisation. Next, Dr. Theo Williams, quantum physicist, whose theories on multiphase energy got him laughed out of academia. The screen shows a disheveled man with brilliant eyes. And Jin Park, she continues, bringing up a profile of a young hacker currently serving time for breaching military networks. "He can get us access to global defense systems we'll need." Colonel Zhang studies the crashed scout ship, then the strange mathematical pattern still emanating from the ancient radio. 27 days remain before extinction. Standard protocols have failed. His career is already over if Earth falls. "This is insane," he mutters, but reaches for his secure satellite phone. "I need 3 immediate prisoner transfers to the Alaskan Black Site," he orders, ignoring the startled looks from his MPs. "Authorization Zulu November 7. He turns to Elena as she gathers equipment. "If you're wrong about this, then we're all dead anyway," she finishes, carefully powering down the containment field to transport the artifact. "But if I'm right, humanity just found its first real hope." In her hands, the ancient shard pulses, with increasing intensity as if awakening after a very long sleep. That's not Vraxian," Jin Park says, fingers dancing across holographic displays as he decodes symbols etched into the artifact. After breaking him out of a military detention center, Elena's misfit team has established a makeshift lab in an abandoned Cold War bunker beneath the Alaskan tundra. Major Kazmi paces impatiently while Dr. Williams mutters equations, trying to understand the pulse that downed the scout ship. 3 days of continuous work have yielded progress, but time is slipping away. 24 days until the Vraxian deadline. "It's meridian," Jin continues, eyes widening as ancient star charts materialize above the artifact. The missing civilization. Meridian? Colonel Zhang questions, setting down his coffee. Never heard of them. Jin's fingers fly across the interface. Because someone erased them from history. But there are fragments in the Vraxian communications I've intercepted, references to the Great Enemy and the Silence After. The holographic display shifts to show reconstructed battle footage extracted from Vraxian military archives, a civilization with luminescent technology fighting the Empire to a standstill millennia ago. Ships similar to the Vraxian fleet falter against weapons emitting familiar blue pulses. The Meridians were the only species to ever effectively fight the Vrax, Jin explains. Then they vanished completely around 12,000 years ago. Elena studies the artifact with renewed fascination. And this is a piece of their technology. Not just any technology, Dr. Williams interjects, looking up from his calculations. It's a component of their primary defensive system, designed specifically to counter Vraxian energy signatures. Elena connects her diagnostic equipment to a sample shield generator recovered from the crashed scout ship. Let's test that theory. She fires a military-grade laser at the generator. Its miniature shield holds firm, the beam dissipating harmlessly. Then she activates the artifact at a specific frequency and directs a civilian radio wave through it toward the shield. The blue glow intensifies as the waves pass through the artifact, becoming something else entirely. The shield flickers and dies. Their invincibility is a lie, Elena realizes, studying the energy patterns. Their shields are tuned to recognize and block conventional attacks, things that register as threats. They built armor against spears and arrows, Williams explains, understanding dawning, but not against a gentle breeze carrying poison. The Meridians figured this out. Kazmi leans forward. You're saying we can take down their entire fleet with radio waves? Not exactly, Elena clarifies. We need precise frequencies tuned to their shield harmonics, amplified through a modified version of the Meridian technology. But yes, theoretically, we can collapse their defensive systems, using technology they consider primitive. In the background, a television broadcasts riots in major cities as the Vraxian deadline approaches. Food shortages have begun as supply chains collapse. Military forces worldwide prepare for a hopeless last stand. Colonel Zhang studies the artifact. How do we weaponize this? We have one small shard and thousands of Vraxian ships. Elena pulls up schematics of Earth's global communications infrastructure. We don't need to duplicate the artifact. We need to understand its principles and adapt existing Earth technology to mimic its effects. She points to weather radar arrays, cell phone towers, satellite networks, and even antique radio equipment. Their weakness isn't technological, it's psychological. They're so convinced of their superiority that they've never considered threats from technology they consider obsolete. Jin grimaces at his terminal. We've got another problem. I've detected Vraxian data mining bots scanning Earth's networks, looking for unusual research. They're hunting for any sign of resistance. Elena stares at ancient Meridian technical schematics with growing determination. We need to work faster and stay off their radar. We have 24 days to weaponize a gentle breeze. Dr. Williams studies the artifact's pulsing rhythms. The Meridians found a way. So will we. Elena's makeshift broadcast studio consists of salvaged equipment and Jin's illegal satellite uplink. Their bunker, now running on geothermal power, disconnected from the grid, is their only protection against Vraxian surveillance. Their algorithms are hunting for any shield-related research. Jin warns as Elena prepares to go live. We're bouncing this through 17 proxy servers, but they'll triangulate our location eventually. We'll have 90 seconds before they find us. Elena takes a deep breath, adjusting the headset. The fate of humanity depends on what she says in the next minute and a half. Colonel Zhang and Major Kazmi stand guard by the blast doors, their careers and lives now hinging on this desperate gamble. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Jin activates the uplink. Elena's face appears on screens worldwide as she bypasses both alien and human censorship channels. My name is Dr. Elena Reyes. I'm a weapons engineer and I know how to fight them, she begins urgently. But I can't do it alone. I need every engineer, every technician, everyone who's ever built or modified a radar, radio, or electronic device. She rapidly explains the fundamental principles, how Vraxian shields can be disrupted using specific frequency patterns transmitted through modified Earth equipment. The explanation is deliberately simplified but includes key technical parameters that engineers would understand. Don't try to build weapons, she emphasizes. That's what they're looking for. Instead, modify existing systems to emit these specific frequency patterns. She uploads schematics showing how to adapt various technologies, radar arrays, radio transmitters, power grid components, even consumer electronics, to emit meridian-inspired disruption fields. We need a global network of these devices. She continues as a counter on Jin's screen shows 60 seconds elapsed. Work locally, stay offline, use paper. They're monitoring digital communications. Jin signals frantically. Vraxian algorithms are zeroing in. Remember, Elena says in closing, they expect us to attack with missiles and bombs. They're not looking for weather radars and antique equipment. That's our advantage. The signal cuts at 87 seconds. Within hours, the recording spreads through underground networks despite Vraxian efforts to suppress it. The response is chaotic but determined. In London, retired radar technicians emerge from retirement, dragging HFY-era equipment from museums and modifying it in backyard workshops. In Johannesburg, engineering students work through the night to repurpose cellular network equipment, disguising their modifications as routine maintenance. In Tokyo, electronics manufacturers quietly retool production lines to create components that appear ordinary, but generate disruption fields when connected properly. The Vraxian occupation forces encounter unexpected resistance, not organized military action, but decentralized civilian engineering projects they struggle to identify as threats. Their intelligence algorithms designed to detect weapons development miss the significance of old equipment being relocated and civilian infrastructure undergoing subtle modifications. Admiral Zek Tool receives troubling reports. Strange energy. Signatures are appearing globally, mimicking patterns from the Empire's ancient war. Impossible, he dismisses, studying Earth's primitive technology. These mammals haven't even mastered efficient fusion. He orders examples of human anti-aircraft systems brought aboard for study. Military experts obligingly provide outdated models, carefully keeping the modifications hidden, while the real network takes shape under the Vraxians' watchful but arrogant gaze. In the Indian Ocean, Elena and her team coordinate from a retrofitted oil platform, designated Meridian Base. Jin has established a secure analog communication system using modified underwater cables and improvised encryption. It's happening, Dr. Williams reports, monitoring incoming signals from makeshift listening posts. Humans everywhere are cooperating in ways I never thought possible. They expect us to fight with missiles and bombs, Elena tells military leaders from 24 nations on a secure channel improvised from 1950s technology. Let's show them how humans fight when the rules change. Major Kazmi studies a global map showing disruption field coverage spreading like a viral infection across continents. We're still missing critical areas, she notes, and we haven't tested this at scale. Then let's give them a demonstration, Elena decides. It's time to prove this works. Admiral Zek Tool stands on the command deck of his flagship, golden cape flowing behind him as he addresses his officers. Holographic displays show Earth's major population centers, each marked with invasion priorities and resource values. 17 days remain in their deliberation period, he announces, mandibles clicking with irritation. Yet their military continues preparations for a futile defense, and their civilians grow increasingly unruly. His senior tactical officer bows respectfully. Standard resistance pattern, Admiral. We've seen it on countless worlds. Indeed. The Admiral's vertical pupils narrow as he studies the displays. To demonstrate our resolve and accelerate their capitulation, we will remove one of their primary cities. His talon hovers over several options before settling on New York. Prepare the Sunfire cruiser. The sleek destroyer, twice the length of an aircraft carrier, detaches from the fleet. Its captain, Sub-Commander Vexnar, transmits footage to media channels worldwide as the vessel descends through clouds toward Manhattan, ensuring humanity witnesses their inevitable defeat. Below, 8 million people appear to flee in panic. What the Vraxians don't see. The evacuation is largely theatrical, with essential personnel remaining hidden throughout the city's infrastructure. Major Casmi coordinates from a subway command center, 60 feet beneath Grand Central Station. Disruption units check in, she orders through a retrofitted analog communication system invisible to Vraxian scanners. Brooklyn array ready. Queens network online. Midtown grid standing by. Harbor units in position. Casmi updates Elena, monitoring from their ocean platform. All systems report ready, but we've never tested this scale of coordination. Elena studies energy readings from the approaching cruiser. Their shield configuration is standard, she confirms, analyzing the patterns. Wait for optimal position. We only get one chance at this. The Vraxian captain smirks as primitive human aircraft scatter before him. Weapons charged, shields at maximum, his lieutenant reports. Disruption field active against potential nuclear detonation. The cruiser positions itself above the Empire State Building, emerald energy weapons powering up for a demonstration that will vaporize Manhattan. The Vraxian crew exchanges confident glances. None have ever witnessed a shield failure in their lifetimes. Target locked, the weapons officer announces. In the subway command center, Casmi watches the cruiser reach optimal position. They're in the convergence zone, she reports to Elena. Elena takes a deep breath, knowing this moment will either save humanity or doom it. Now. Across New York, hundreds of modified systems activate simultaneously. Weather radars from the 1940s, repurposed microwave transmitters, cell towers, subway power systems, even hot dog cart batteries wired into the grid. Each emits a precisely calibrated frequency, creating a converging disruption field. The pattern matches the Meridian technology perfectly, amplified by the concentration of devices. On the cruiser, alarms blare as shield harmonics fluctuate wildly. Impossible! Captain Vexnar shouts as warning symbols flood his displays. Shields, at 40% and dropping. Source of interference, demands his second. Unknown. It's coming from everywhere. The invincible barrier dissolves like fog in sunlight. Target their propulsion systems and weapons arrays, Casmi commands, as Elena gives her second order. Fire. Conventional missiles launch from hidden positions throughout the city, striking the suddenly vulnerable warship from all directions. The cruiser, designed to withstand concentrated energy weapons but not distributed kinetic impacts, breaks apart over the Hudson River. In his flagship, Admiral Zektul watches the live feed terminate as his invincible warship disintegrates. For the first time in his 3-century military career, he experiences an unfamiliar sensation. Doubt. His composed demeanor cracks as a human voice breaks through on the command frequency. Using Vraxian communication protocols that should be beyond Earth's technology. That was for intimidation, Elena's voice states calmly. The rest will be for survival. Across Earth, resistance cells watch the footage of the falling cruiser with renewed hope. Humanity has drawn first blood against the invincible fleet. All. Ships descend, obliterate every population center. Admiral Zektul's rage-filled command echoes through the fleet's command network as his strategists plead for caution. The Empire's centuries-old invasion protocols, carefully refined methods that have subjugated hundreds of worlds, are abandoned in favor of overwhelming force. Admiral, our standard response would be targeted retaliation while they destroyed a Sunfire-class cruiser with primitive technology. The Admiral cuts in, slamming his fist into a holographic display. This infection must be cauterized before it spreads. Across Earth, civilians watch in terror as thousands of warships darken skies worldwide. The carefully coordinated New York defense had worked, but most cities lack the density of modified equipment needed to create effective disruption fields. In Rio de Janeiro, shield disruption systems activate as Vraxian destroyers approach. Dr. Williams, sent to personally calibrate equipment when digital communications proved too risky, oversees the operation from a makeshift command center in Maracana Stadium. Coverage at 60%, His assistant reports as disruption emitters activate across the city. Southern quadrant still offline. Williams scans the readings with growing alarm. A targeting failure has left a gap in coverage. Without hesitation, he grabs a portable emitter. Keep the main array running, I'll close the gap manually. He races to the exposed area, knowing the manual calibration will require exposure to radiation levels that their shielding can't fully block. As Vraxian destroyers begin their attack run, Williams positions himself on a rooftop, interfacing directly with the equipment. Emitter in position, he radios, adjusting the frequencies with radiation-exposed hands. Tell Elena it works better when you cross-phase the tertiary harmonics. The disruption field completes just as the destroyers open fire. Their shields flicker and fail, leaving them vulnerable to the Brazilian Air Force jets that had been circling. In wait. Direct hits with conventional weapons tear through the suddenly defenseless alien ships. Williams collapses as the radiation takes its toll, watching through fading vision as Vraxian ships crash into the bay. Worth it, he whispers. In Delhi, ancient air raid sirens wail as Vraxian bombers approach. The city's defensive systems activate from unexpected sources: cricket stadium floodlights, repurposed Bollywood sound equipment, and thousands of modified rickshaw batteries combined with military hardware create a disruption field that causes 20 bombers to crash into the Yamuna River. Jin, coordinating from Meridian Base, has assembled a global network of hackers who have infiltrated the remaining Vraxian communication channels, feeding false targeting data to their ships. They're so focused on their weapons that they neglected their comm security, he explains to Elena as they watch the tactical display. Classic military tunnel vision. Over Moscow, Cairo, Sydney, and dozens of other cities, the pattern repeats. Advanced alien warships, suddenly stripped of their invulnerable shields, fall to weapons their commanders had dismissed as primitive. From farm equipment repurposed as disruption emitters in rural Kansas to fishing boats equipped with modified sonar in the South China Sea, humanity's dispersed defense proves impossible for the Vraxians to counter. There is no central command to target, no single point of failure, just millions of humans adapting whatever technology they have available. In his flagship, Admiral Zektul watches damage reports flood in, struggling to comprehend how his perfect attack has dissolved into chaos. How are they doing this? He demands, slamming his fist into a holographic display showing hundreds of lost ships. His second-in-command observes with growing dread. They aren't fighting like a civilization, Admiral. They're fighting like thousands of different species at once. The Admiral's eyes narrow as he studies the pattern of losses. Recall surviving ships to high orbit. Prepare for spatial bombardment. A subordinate hesitates. But, Admiral, the resource value of the planet will be zero if this contagion spreads to other systems. Zektul cuts him off. The humans have left us no choice. Withdraw all remaining vessels to high orbit, Admiral Zektul commands, his voice eerily calm as half his fleet burns in Earth's atmosphere. His officers exchange nervous glances. Retreat is unprecedented in Empire history. The Admiral isn't retreating, however. Prepare planet killer protocols. Massive cannons extend from the remaining capital ships, designed to bombard planetary surfaces from distances beyond any defensive reach. These weapons, used only twice in Imperial history, can reduce a planet's surface to molten slag in hours. Elena and her team, monitoring from their ocean platform, recognize the existential threat. They're positioning for orbital bombardment, Major Kazmi confirms, studying intercepted tactical data. Beyond our range, Jin laughs bitterly. So we made them so angry they're willing to destroy a resource-rich planet rather than admit defeat to primitives. Elena stares at Global Defense Network readings, mind racing. What if we move our range? She outlines an audacious plan, converting the International Space Station and Earth's communication satellite network into an orbital disruption array. If we can't reach them from down here, we'll bring the fight to them. It's suicide, Kazmi argues, as Elena prepares for space deployment. The ISS wasn't designed for rapid modifications, and someone has to manually calibrate the primary stations. The radiation exposure alone would be fatal, Elena finishes. I know. Colonel Zhang shakes his head. There must be another way. There isn't, Elena says quietly. Not in the 12 hours before they open fire. Around the world, space agencies launch emergency missions carrying modified disruption technology. Russian, Chinese, European, and American rockets blast skyward in a desperate bid to position enough equipment in orbit. Elena boards the final rocket to the ISS. 20 minutes to bombardment position, Jin warns through her headset as she spacewalks between satellite clusters, installing critical components with radiation-scarred hands. Inside the station, astronauts and cosmonauts from former rival nations work frantically to modify life support systems into power amplifiers. They've stripped every non-essential component, converting the entire station into one massive disruption emitter. Calibration complete on Western Array, Elena reports, maneuvering to the final nexus point. Her oxygen runs critical, hands numb from cold and radiation exposure as she makes the final connections. Aboard the flagship, Admiral Zektul aligns his remaining fleet for the killing blow. Commence firing sequence. Now, Elena commands. The orbital network activates, creating a planet-wide disruption field that ripples through space. Each satellite, each piece of space debris modified by the emergency teams, contributes to the expanding field. On the Vraxian flagship, systems fail, catastrophically as shields collapse and weapons overload. Impossible, the Admiral whispers, watching his Invincible fleet's control systems go dark. Earth's combined missile defenses, American, Russian, Chinese, European, launch simultaneously at the suddenly vulnerable command ship. Elena, drifting, semi-conscious as her oxygen depletes, watches through her helmet as the Admiral's flagship erupts in a spectacular explosion against Earth's backdrop. The blue-green planet seems impossibly beautiful from here, worth any sacrifice. A rescue pod approaches as her vision darkens, piloted by Kazmi, who'd launched in the Chinese backup mission. Did it work? Elena asks weakly as fellow astronauts pull her to safety. Look for yourself, they reply, turning her to see the remaining Vraxian ships, weapons disabled and shields down, surrounded by the impossible, a fleet of primitive human spacecraft holding the galaxy's greatest power at bay. Humans never could follow the rules, she manages with a pained smile before slipping into unconsciousness. In the silence of space, the balance of power has shifted. The Vraxian ships, intact but disabled, drift helplessly as Earth's nations coordinate their next move. The last communication from the fleet comes not from command but from a junior officer. We request terms of surrender. Humanity, against all odds, has won. The United Nations headquarters buzzes with unprecedented activity as representatives from every nation gather for history's most consequential meeting. Where once nations bickered over borders and resources, now they sit united by survival and victory. At the center of the General Assembly chamber, Admiral Zektul, now a prisoner of war, stands in restraints, his once imposing figure diminished without his ceremonial armor. The golden cape is gone, replaced by a simple gray jumpsuit. Behind him, a delegation of Vraxian officers wait under guard. Elena, still recovering from radiation exposure, sits opposite him as Earth's chief negotiator. Her medical team had objected to her leaving the hospital, but as she told them, some things are worth the risk. The Admiral studies her with clinical detachment. You realize, he states through the translation device, that our empire spans 17 galactic sectors. This fleet was merely an expeditionary force. Yet here we are, Elena replies, with your expeditionary force defeated by what you called primitives. For several moments the Admiral is silent. Then, in a voice devoid of its former arrogance, how? The question contains genuine bewilderment. How did creatures who still use combustion engines defeat the greatest fleet in galactic history? Elena slides a simple schematic across the table, a modified air defense radar from the 1950s. Because we never stopped solving problems with whatever we had available, she explains. Your civilization perfected one approach to technology and stopped looking for alternatives. You built perfect shields against what you considered weapons, but we turned our toys, our appliances, our antiques into something you never predicted. She leans forward. Your fatal flaw wasn't technological, but psychological. You believed your own propaganda. The peace terms shock the Vraxian delegation. Earth demands not surrender or reparations, but knowledge exchange and recognition as equals in the galactic community. We don't want your empire, Elena explains. We want the stars. 6 months later, modified human ships incorporating Vraxian technology make their first FTL jumps to neighboring systems. Elena watches from the bridge of the UNS Meridian, humanity's first diplomatic vessel. Major Cosme, now Admiral of Earth's Defense Fleet, joins her at the observation window. The Vraxian databases mentioned 17 other subjugated species in their empire, she notes. Most are already in open rebellion using our methods. They're calling it the human approach, Elena says with a smile. Adapt, improvise, use what you have. As diplomatic missions establish contact with other civilizations, they discover an unexpected development. The defeat of the Invincible Vraxian fleet has inspired revolutions throughout the empire. The once mighty regime crumbles not through military defeat, but because humanity introduced something more powerful than advanced technology. Innovative thinking. The Meridian artifact, now understood and replicated, hangs around Elena's neck as she prepares for her first meeting with representatives from the Kaltari Collective, former subjects of the Empire. Ready for your mission, Ambassador Reyes? Asks the ship's captain. Elena touches the artifact, thinking of Dr. Williams and others who sacrificed themselves. The Meridians are still out there somewhere, she says, watching stars streak past the viewport. And I think they've been waiting for someone like us. As Earth's influence spreads through the galaxy, a new term enters the lexicon of countless civilizations: human ingenuity, meaning the dangerous, beautiful ability to find strength in apparent weakness and to transform the rules of engagement when the game seems lost. In the vast archives of galactic history, a new chapter begins, not of conquest but of liberation, where the mightiest empire in 17 sectors was humbled by what they had dismissed as simple noisemakers. Human. Anti-aircraft fire.